Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Friday, January 21st, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Friday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. We have gotten our meltdown here. Tremendous push through this midpoint from last week's rejection. You also had this Friday tail right here, and right out of the gate on Monday, we saw selling pressure here, rather Tuesday, selling pressure right out of the gate. Wednesday, Thursday, here we are Friday, holding at these lows now and below the key range low after we dumped late in the session yesterday. One of the things we mentioned yesterday is while we could get ourselves a nice bounce, look to see where that high of the day comes in and look to remove 80 points from it, and you might get that target. This one did that and then some yesterday, and really moved some distance with the amount of points being 156 points yesterday, mostly to the downside there. So big time move, and now we are below the key range low. This all started with a trap above the key range high. It failed the retest at the key range high and failed outside that key range. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is this level here, or however you want to draw it. You can also use these lows. We have clearly broken down from that market structure, and we may be headed down to that 4250 zone fairly soon. We've also taken quarterly VWAP offered, so this has been developing since the fiscal year began at the beginning of October, and it's taken it offered and dropping now to S1. Perhaps S2 is here. Maybe we get lower. We'll see how far this thing goes. But for right now, very bearish at the moment. We are in a very narrow range right now after yesterday's sell-off. That can be typical to be digesting the recent price action. Again, any bounce could be seen as a selling opportunity, even if it's a bounce next week, early next week. A failure to reclaim prices back above 4,500 could suggest more downside into these extensions here. If price can get back above that 44.92 and reestablish acceptance, there's a shot to go right back to these highs and have ourselves an expanding range. So that 44.92 to 45 level is going to be very, very important up ahead. Let's take a look here at the NQ. Similar price action, only this one has matured in its down move. This key range right here came into play very significantly. You can see how the resistance was right at the upper edge of that range. Finally broke to the downside, held it, and dropped. 50% and 100% targets both reached now well through those levels. So that key range pretty much has been used up. And now you see how price is approaching the next major zone of support. This one also has given up market structure as well. You can see here, or again if you want to draw it here, it's given up that market structure tremendously, and the next lowest market structure is right there, 14.4. That's where these lows are. That appears to be where we're headed at the very least, with a shot to go into the LVN at 14.2. That could provide the next buying opportunity up ahead, and if there's no hold at that 14.2 zone, you start to track how much lower do we go down the road. Do we give back the gains for the whole previous year before we bounce? Again, this is going to be a major market structure zone here to keep an eye on. So 14.2 to 14.4, the next major zone ahead for the NQ. Again, similarly to the ES, if this were to bounce, it could still be seen as a selling opportunity until price can reestablish acceptance, at least back above 15.2. Let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude right now trying to bounce here after forming a significant top in the previous session. Significant top, outside day down, a selling wick tail, however you want to define that. A couple of squats up here at the previous year's high and previous quarter's high. But this uptrend is so strong right now. The 8-period average rising at a steady pace. I mentioned before that while we could see a pullback as deep as 80 to 79, or maybe theoretically as deep as 76. Right now, the trend is so bullish that even if we just hit the 8 period, it might be enough to get us to the next upside target. 87.63 is just above, and you want to see confirmation through that previous session's midpoint. If price can start to push and close the day through that previous session's midpoint of 85.65, odds increase for a continuation to new highs. So right now, looking pretty good here, unless you start to see this thing fail back below 84s. All right, let's take a look now at Bitcoin. A big time sell-off here for crypto, and for the market in general here, with Netflix down 20% here heading into the RTH Open on earnings here. You also see crypto down, Bitcoin down here 10%, Ethereum down as much as 15% at one point, now down 13%. So tremendous selling pressure, and as we mentioned before, this didn't seem like a convincing bounce off of a key level, and it likely looked like we were going to make another test. Yesterday, while it started the day strong, ended up with a failed new high. Very bearish, and quite a bit of selling pressure here today, breaking 40K. Now, how does this market finish the day? Do we finish the day where we are, well below 40K, well below today's midpoint, as a transition day? Because if we do, then we know where the next target is. It's down here between 29 and 30,000 based off of this previous market structure. So if this is a transition day down, things can get very, very bearish very quickly here, and the next buying opportunity provides itself off of these lows. So today's going to be very, very important against that 40,000 level. 37,500 is a level to watch. 37,500. If you're thinking 75K could be reached at some point in the future, as 69 was here, 65 was here, or 60 there. 75 might be the next logical level. 37,500 would double to that level, just as a mathematical entry. So right now, we will watch to see, do we transition through 40K, or do we start to pop back above 40K very quickly, leading to a bit of a bounce. Ethereum, let's look at Ether futures here, down 13% right now. The low here coming in at 27.22 half. That's right into our key level. We have that 2750 key level right there. We mentioned anywhere between 2700 and 2800 could be a major zone of support for this one. And right now, the first test below 2750 held, but still very bearish session here. And based off of the sell-off, we could continue to see this thing push through. So we got to see, how does the market finish the day here as well? Can it finish strongly back above 2700, or do we finish through 2700, 2750? Because if so, like Bitcoin, if we finish the day through this zone here, say we finish at down here and it's at 2675 or something like that, is this a transition day that's going to take us to the next major support zone down below? You have 2250 and 1750 next. So these are the next two levels. We're at 2750 now. 22 and 17 are the next key levels here. Where's the bounce going to be? Like Bitcoin, the all-time high here, 49K. Do we think it's going to get to 55 at some point ever? If so, 2750 doubles to 5500, like that 37,500 level in Bitcoin would go to 75. So those two mathematically make a lot of sense. Adding back at these levels makes sense, or being patient here can also make sense. So right now, again, quite a bit of selling pressure here as we come into these major areas of support. Can they hold, or do we see a transition through those levels? All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Happy Friday. Please have a fantastic weekend. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.